We are at the Pulley Collective with Nobletree Coffee, and I am here with John Moore and our Vanna White today, Matthew Swenson. And today we're going to be learning how to drink and pick coffee that is similar to tea. So if you're a tea drinker and you say, I don't like coffee, that doesn't have to be true, right?
It does not have to be true at all. In fact, there's a lot of coffees out there that I think translate really well. If you're a tea drinker, there are a lot of different types out there. So if you like your big, giant, heavy pu'er, you might also like a really big, heavy, body-driven coffee. We wanted to pick a couple of coffees that would translate both hot and cold, be similar to teas. So we picked two really nice coffees, one from Ethiopia, and it's got a beautiful silky body. I think it's got a really nice fruit-driven flavor profile. And we have another beautiful coffee from Panama called a geisha. Beautiful floral aromatics. I think you're really going to love it.
And so, obviously, it's important to pick out the right coffee beans, but also brewing it in kind of a lighter, more tea-friendly way is really the key here. So how are we going to brew some coffee today? Yeah,
we decided, I think the most tea-friendly coffee brewing method is probably the chemex. And the reason for that is the chemex really, I mean, you can see it looks like a lab instrument, right? And when you use this thing, it's really giving you a refined, elegant, lighter profile, but one that focuses on these beautiful, dynamic floral notes, some nice crisp acidity and clarity in the flavor profile. I think for a tea drinker, it's the ideal coffee brewing methodology.
All right, so where do we begin?
Okay, so if you're trying this at home, the key things to success are very simple but important. One being your grinder. So I'd recommend you try a burr grinder as opposed to the old whirly blade.
Right. So now I'm being Vanna White.
Now you're the Vanna White. We can get Matt to do that for you if you like. And then we also have a scale. And so it's amazing how everyone thinks, oh well, I just kind of throw a couple tablespoons in, and then I pour a little water. And sometimes it works and sometimes it's terrible. So you just get yourself a simple scale and a good burr grinder, and that's a great start. And then the next is the proportion. So we're using about 2 grams of coffee per ounce of liquid. So we'll start with the hot. Here I'll be brewing the Misty Valley from the Yirgacheffe region of Ethiopia. And over here we have the Panamanian geisha with Vanna White.
Excellent.
Okay.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. So first we're going to start just pouring a little bit. I'd say about 20% of your total liquid volume. And this starts what we would call the bloom, that the grinds are actually expanding. You're seeing a lot of bubbling, a lot of fun stuff going on. This blooming phase is really important. We'll wait about 20 to 30 seconds, and then we'll start slowly pouring and starting the extraction.
And so what are you gaining by using the chemex versus a regular coffee maker? How it, obviously the water's coming down slowly, but it would come down slowly on a regular coffee maker too. So how do you? Every
single coffee brewing methodology is really going to emphasize different traits in a coffee because it's balancing a whole bunch of different variables. If you're doing a French press, if you're doing a pour over, if you're doing a chemex, if you're doing a siphon, if you're doing an AeroPress, all of these different brewing methodologies are a lot of fun to experiment with. We thought that this one in particular, for the tea folks out there, would just yield a profile that they would love. But I always encourage people to experiment with these different ideas. Try them all.
And so what about the chemex makes them tea friendly?
I think the fact that you've got a really intense filtration that happens and a really fine mesh in the paper filter. And what that's doing is that's removing a lot of those non-soluble solids from the coffee is part solution, part suspension. So you have, when we're brewing, you have certain chemicals that are actually breaking down, but you also have a lot of solid material that's just floating around in there. And this guy will filter most of those out.
How do you know kind of when it's time?
Every different brewing methodology will have a different set of time parameters. With this, we've got some good agitation going on when we pour, so the total extraction time probably going to be 2 to 3 minutes. So here we are, we're about ready to go. So here what I'm doing is I'm just releasing some of these aromatics, just kind of stirring around, because I'd really love you to get a sense. And this again is the Misty Valley from the Yirgacheffe region of Ethiopia.
Well, it's very light, so you can almost taste the flavor more.
The idea with the chemex is we're trying to give you that clarity and that elegance in the cup. And I think that for me, I actually am a tea drinker in the afternoons. And see, indeed, I'm outed. But I think that a great tea is very elegant, it's very approachable. and sometimes challenging with interesting and exotic flavor notes. And I think that this coffee in particular delivers on all those fronts. This is another coffee that I'd recommend for a tea drinker. Again, this geisha cultivar type, very
that's
exotic.
so different.
Very different. Lots of honeysuckle, beautiful floral tones, but mixed with this silky, sweet, just beautifully balanced body and acidity.
And also almost like if you really like Japanese green teas that have those like sort of ricey flavors.
Yes.
This kind of is reminiscent of that.
That sort of basmati style.
If we're making iced coffee now,
Yep.
we have the same chemexes, but there's something slightly different
There
here.
is indeed. So what we've done, these were filled up with ice. And the idea here is we're going to do what we'd call like a Japanese iced coffee brewing method,
Okay.
or a bit of a flash chilling, if you will. And we're using the same amount of liquid, but we're doubling the coffee. And so what will happen is, this is a
Ice will
larger
melt.
vessel, so essentially the ice will melt, dilute, and we have double the ground coffee that we had before. 20 grams before, we're at 40 grams now.
Okay.
And we will start with the bloom.
And so what are the advantages of brewing coffee this way versus just taking this same coffee and sticking it in the fridge for a couple hours?
That's a great question. Coffee loves to absorb aromatics and flavors. What you don't want in your coffee is corn, cucumbers,
Fridge flavor.
stuff.
Fair enough. So this really gives you the coffee as it's meant to taste. And so is it the same time for the iced coffee as it is
It would
for
be,
regular
but keep
coffee?
in mind that we've doubled our throw weight, so going a wee bit longer, we're going to
Right.
have a little bit more resistance in the cone.
And this is 3.5 minutes versus 3 minutes before.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you can feel icy cold to the touch.
Oh, it's totally cool, yeah. It's still light, but it's even...
Fruity flavors come forth a little bit more. Probably a hint more citrus than you got when it was warmer. There are so many flavor profiles in coffee or tea, and exploration is half the fun. So.
Yeah, well, thank you for even getting us started on our exploration
No,
and
it's our
helping us tea drinkers be a little bit better
still hope
at
for you.
drinking coffee. You're turning us into coffee people.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.